Stugotz, I know that many people in our audience, beyond our audience, think of me as an overly woke know-it-all. So I am going to admit to all of you listening to this that I often feel like a total fool because I don't know where my blind spots are as it relates to women, and I'm forever learning from my wife things that teach me that coming from a Cuban background where all I saw was women serving men, that I have some things wrong that I've never before seen in my life, that I am grateful that I have a woman I love and trust to teach me. And the reason I bring all of this up is because I walked in the other day and my Freudian slip, my wife looking at
very Freudian.
Yeah, the most Freudian.
Wow.
The most
As
Freudian.
Freudian as it gets.
Yes, that's the maximum Freudian slip. That's correct. Yeah. She's looking at the phone and she just one single sort of spit laugh that wasn't really a laugh. It was sort of a dark laugh. And it's because she was reading a tweet that pointed out that a certain kind of book for women is put in the self-improvement section, and that same kind of book for men is put in the leadership section. Because men sort of need a whole bunch of things to cover up their insecurities so they can maximum man out, and Dana White can say what a man Trump is because the brave thing to do is stick your head out when there's an active shooter. That's what a man does. A man sticks his head out and shows people how much of a man he is, when men can largely, I am proof, be idiots, be coddled, and in the cases of Greg Cody, Tim Kirkshin, and me, the women are often raising men the same way that they're raising their kids. Greg Cody knows how to do like one thing and everything else about him as a child. Tim Kirkshin knows how to do one thing and everything else about him as a child.
I've been Abby's toughest project. I mean, seriously.
Well, Greg Cody is still not grown. Most of Greg Cody's kids are more grown than he is. And I, too, am lumping myself in here. But I give you all of that as context because I really do think some of what's happening as men gather around and are like threatened by confident, badass, trash-talking women who might be more competitive and tougher than some of the men that you think are so tough. When Asia Wilson does this in a game to her teammates, now keep in mind, this is the best of the best in that sport. We can obsess with Caitlin Clark and everyone else, but this is the best that there is. And the Aces lost a game. And Asia Wilson's not here to meet Usher. She's here to crush everybody and doesn't really want her teammates fooling around with Usher after a game because, Usher's here. Isn't it cute? Asia Wilson wants to kill everybody.
Crusher.
As Reese was getting some love from her coach. And Asia Wilson did all that she could do with another double-double, 28 points, 14 rebounds. But Usher and Asia Wilson.
I will tell you, Stugotz, in a moment that hurts me to admit, okay, very young in my dating life, I was dating a Rutgers basketball player who just crushed me one-on-one basketball, and I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle that. I couldn't be good enough to play with her.
You couldn't handle the losing. Like, how badly did she beat you?
Yeah, she was a college basketball player.
Dominated.
She could. Like, I wasn't able to do. I thought I was something. And what came out of me after that was not confident. So what I wanted to ask the group on this, because I do believe this is going to happen. I believe as more and more people start paying attention to women's basketball, they're going to be made uncomfortable by how competitive it is. Because They're used to seeing men that way. And when Caitlin Clark gets pushed, we don't know enough about ourselves or the sport to not have an overreaction when women are as competitive or more competitive or tougher than men. That we don't know how to process it, don't know how to talk about it. And so we'll see A'ja Wilson do this or be more competitive than this and be made uncomfortable by something not appearing, quote unquote, ladylike.
That was a very normal, rational thing from A'ja Wilson. It wasn't really weird, and it's also not out of A'ja's sort of. Asia's without a doubt the best player in the WNBA right now, but she's probably the best competitor in the WNBA. Earlier this season, the Aces went through kind of a nasty losing streak, I believe 5 or 6 games, and A'ja Wilson cried at a press conference about it. She is someone who takes losses and not winning very, very deeply and internalizes that. So when you see her kind of making that remark of you guys didn't do all game and now you're taking a picture with Usher, that was legitimate, but it's also a very normal thing. And I haven't seen much of a reaction of that's not ladylike. I think you should just kind of evaluate what ladylike means. It doesn't mean anything. That's a made up thing.
That's correct.
I like that, Lucy.
This reminds me of a play-by-play thing that would happen with Jimmy Butler, where he's calling out other guys on the team for going to see somebody who's a star, but then also taking a picture and hugging the person who's a star.
Oh, that's the most Jimmy Butler thing that exists.
But A'ja Wilson is not the only one. Let's be very, very clear. We had this discussion when Caitlin Clark had those couple of nights where they had hard fouls and everyone was complaining. Women are competitive. Women athletes are competitive. And for those of you who don't know that by now, it's simply because you haven't been around women's sports. You haven't been paying attention. They're fiercely competitive. Why would you think they're any different than men when it comes to that?
Right. This is not some brand new discovery.
Right.
Anyone paying attention to women's sports should already know that.
But I will tell you that one thing that is new, you say this is on brand for A'ja Wilson. I have not seen a whole lot of male athletes get caught publicly saying, hey, my teammates were and just lost. I was okay.
She was great. She's always great.
I was okay, but my teammates were
Go back to Jimmy Butler.
I
said it quite a few times.
I'm just saying you don't see it that often, and if you see it, we will make a lot of controversy around someone someone pointing out, look, I've told you guys before, okay, one of the great crimes in sports is knowing how good you are unless you win, because we don't like arrogance. We prefer humility. So when someone as a teammate who you already don't like for whatever your reasons, she's a woman, she's black, whatever your reasons, you don't like this person. When that person does something that puts her above the team, that person better win, because that is not something I see a whole lot in male sports, the public giving off of being okay with my teammates sucked and I was great, and I'm the reason we win, and they're the reason we lost.
But you have to be someone where that is the case in order
She
to say
is.
it.
She is.
LeBron is. Michael is. Certain people are. It's when you get to other people saying it where it gets ridiculous.
But I don't see a lot of the best in sports actually doing that. Now, Stugotz, they feel that way on the inside, all of them.
Yes.
Very few say it out loud in ways that are caught by cameras so that everyone can hear, hey, I know I'm better than my teammates. And incidentally, that's actual leadership.
Yes.
When she says, you guys are this okay with losing? I'm not, and I'm doing more than you are.
I think it's important to have the context of the Aces have won the last 2 championships in this league. They have far and away been the best team in the WNBA for years now. And they are a team that doesn't kind of mind, being tough to one another or sort of giving the jab where it's needed. This is very normal behavior for any sports team, and it's very normal for the Aces. This kind of feels like a big giant nothing burger to me.
You're saying no one on that team is surprised by what A'ja Wilson had to say?
No, I mean, she's a leader. She's a fierce competitor. She's called out teams before, and I also think it's important, the Aces have been so good the last few years. They've really struggled this season compared to the last couple years. They've gone through losing streaks. They've had a ton of injuries. Like, this is a team that's kind of dealing with losing for the first time in a while. And it's all like a very normal reaction. And I kind of like hate this conversation, if I'm being totally honest, just because it is never, ever a conversation we would have about anything else. Like, if this clip were an NBA player or an NFL player, it'd be a funny TikTok that we'd scroll past, and then that would be the end of it. So I don't. This is very.
Do you
normal
think I'm
behavior.
making it a controversy as opposed to just interesting?
I think men are. I don't think it's you. I think it's just people who are like experiencing, watching competitive women for the first time in their life, and it's just something that their tiny brains can't handle.
But Lucy, I have a tiny brain, and I'm telling you, if someone did this on an NBA team, I would praise, and if they were good enough, I would praise them for their leadership. I would say that's leadership. That's how you do it.
I think the point would be to just sort of skip past maybe the first part of the conversation, the conversation that people are having. Like, we should either be crushing A'ja Wilson or praising A'ja Wilson and just talking about it in that respect. That's the thing where we need to get with these sports. Stop being like surprised that A'ja Wilson, this unbelievable athlete, she's competitive and speaking with snark about her teammates. That's what Jimmy Butler would do, or another great player in the NBA, and we'd take that video, and half of us would laugh at it, and half of us would crush.
I would say that some of us would get uncomfortable once it escalates to Udonis Haslem and Spo want to fight you. Once it gets to that point, I'm guessing that is the place where that stuff gets sort of extreme, where Udonis Haslem doesn't like so much that you're telling everybody that you're better than he is.
That's right. It's time for Against the Spread.
Where was everybody else?
And it is sponsored by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you're going to hear about what DraftKings has to offer all throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Also, DraftKings is sponsoring The Tonight Show with
The Tony Show, presented
Tony
by DraftKings.
tonight at 7 p.m. on YouTube.
So Tony Tonight or The Tonight Show or
Yeah,
Tony
I'm
Show?
hosting The Tonight Show on CBS.
Is Lewis your
It's on
co-host?
NBC.
so.
NBC, whatever.
That's
Who cares?
fine,
Who watches that
right.
stuff?
Is Lewis co-hosting with you? What happened? What's going on?
Lewis is part of the ensemble. Chris is going to be here. We've got a lot of the guys outside are going to be here, so it's going to be a fun show.
Mike Ryan going to be here?
Mike Ryan's going to be
Billy
in the
going to be
building.
here?
No.
You know what? Let's start with Tony. With Against the Spread.
Guys, NBA Summer League is in full effect. Your Miami Heat -4.5-point favorites against the Dallas Mavericks. I like what I'm seeing from the Heat guys, Jeremy.
Kashad Johnson and them boys.
Looking very, very strong. I'm going to take the Heat -4.5 against the spread.
Against the spread.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Are you a total degenerate if you're betting Summer League at Le Batard Show?
Or let's not put that up there. Jeremy, up to you.
Well, we were just talking about the WNBA earlier. Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever at the Dallas Wings. Fever are 4-point favorites. We're picking the Fever. -4 against the spread.
Lucy.
He took my game.
We're always pro Caitlin Clark around.
Have you watched her
You
recently?
can make a case.
She's
Dan.
been
You can
so
make a case.
good.
You
for
missed her
MVP.
setting every record.
She's been so good. And the Fever have been really, really good. They've won 8 out of their last 12.
I mean, playoff team.
They're in the playoffs
Someone
right now.
The
picked the
season ended
Washington
today.
Mystics last edition of Against the Spread against Caitlin Clark and won.
Well, she
wonder
dropped
who it
one of the
was.
craziest stat lines in WNBA history that game. It's not my fault that Christy Sides
Here's a
doesn't know
stat
what
line
to do.
account: W's. That's what the Mystics delivered that game
Well,
against the
that's
Spread.
Christy's fault. And so now, here I am, not planned, not prepared, but don't worry. Even though Jeremy's a thief, I have another game.
Well, we'll come back to you. Does
No,
anyone
I have
else
it
have
right
any
now.
picks?
I'm ready.
All right,
Don't
let's
don't
go.
count me out.
All right, let's go.
right.
I think more order. I would think that somebody would talk with somebody else, plan it a little
No,
bit.
we
so
just want to live our
The
lives. But
Spread.
I'm wearing a Caitlin Clark hat, so I feel like that game
we're in a
technically
contract
belonged
year.
to me.
It's got to be better than this.
Are you
I
kidding?
actually
Good analysis.
think this is really good.
I
and
acted
think-
on my feet there. You went rogue and talked about the Tony Show, and I go, you know what? I'm thinking on my feet. Tony, you go first.
Wow,
That was
look
like
at you.
expert
That was really
producing.
Improv.
Expert.
Dan.
Contract
We
year
want-
Tony Show.
We want this stuff to
Presented
be
by DraftKings.
genuine and feel real, you know? This isn't manufactured stuff, Dan. This is from my heart.
Yeah.
And from my heart, I do have a game. I'm pulling it up right now.
A lot of
From my
preamble.
heart, I am taking the Lynx tonight. They're hosting the Dream. It's a 8-point spread. The Lynx are favorite. The Dream, I am very, very sorry to Juju. This is his favorite team, but they've been pretty bad this year. They just have not been
And
good.
Renee.
And the Lynx, they're coming off a loss to guess who? The Fever.
Who? Oh, the spread.
Oh, yeah, against the spread. But I did so good on the part before that it's okay that I forgot that last part.
Crushing
Billy Boy,
dreams
bring
over
us
here.
home. Well, here's the issue, gang. I had a game. A baseball game. I had the Cubs and the D-backs. However, it's the All-Star break.
Yeah, that's not a game that's.
No, the game's
right
on
now.
Friday. I was
Yeah.
going to tell you who to take because I know
You could do that.
half of the pitching matchup.
No, you can do that.
Come on.
I can do that.
You're
You
gonna
can.
pick.
Yeah, Justin Steele. Chicago
You're
Cubs
picking a
starting
game
pitcher.
2 days
He has
from
been
now.
hot
Nothing
lately.
on.
Yeah, no, against the spread, you can pick games heading into the weekend.
Billy's been on
Sometimes.
fire.
Nothing
NFL
on.
games. What?
It's just-
What'd you say?
It's the All-Star break.
I missed you. What'd you say? It's also about to be the All-Star break for WNBA. Like, we can't pick
Right.
WNBA games also. What are we supposed to do?
Slim
Pitbull's performing the
pickings.
halftime show?
I mean,
I'm just telling you this, okay? Right now, Friday's game, Diamondbacks, Cubs. Justin Steele is set to start against TBD. Now, here's what I'll tell you. Doesn't matter. Take the Cubs, take Justin Steele. He has been hot lately. 7 innings pitched his last time out. A complete game the time before. 1 earned run, the complete game. Steele is hot right
Yeah,
now,
you mentioned.
Dan.
You mentioned that.
So you want to take Steele. Now, again, because it's coming up and it's a TBD, we don't have a... Here's how baseball works.
it'd
It's
be
always
great if you
just
took
go-
TBD.
just
it's
go
always
sit in the
1.5.
penalty box. Just go
I
sit-
don't know if it's
just go
plus or
sit-
minus
just
the
leave-
1.5.
Leave right now.
So I don't know
Go
because
sit
of the
in the penalty
TBD.
box. You can
Take
finish
the
it
Steal.
there. Yeah, that's fine. Get out.
Against the spread.
I thought he was going to break it down. TBD's got a nasty curve. You know, something
Go,
like that.
go in there. Go into the penalty box and go ahead and show off your
TBD,
guns and do
DNM does not matter. Take Steele
do
against the spread.
hang 10 in the penalty box.
Shaka.
Yeah, get out of here. Thank you. Good talking to you. I'm glad you provided that expert, efficient analysis that you always do.
Steel's hot.
Yes, that's what you mentioned. It's a hot steel.
He's so funny.
Is he?
He's a really
I'm
funny,
glad you find him
guy.
amusing.
really
Yeah,
funny guy.
yeah,
He's not that funny.
Sit in Dan's chair.
yeah. Thank you.
Not that funny.
Yeah, not that funny. Not that funny when you're always hitting the joke around here for 20 years. That's our most winning joke, which is just annoy Dan. It's the easiest joke.
You should do a show where you just try to annoy Billy.
And he's the greatest we have at it.
He is
I
the
mean,
best we've ever had.
It's got to be him, right? Greg, Cody, and me. I mean,
You would say so, but I would say that one who did it a little too much is the producer before Mike Ryan.
What about me, man?
You're coming strong.
Do you know what that was, Dan?
Yeah,
That was his limited
that was
fake
the
Trump.
limited fake Biden that sounds like Trump. That was not Trump.
It was clearly Biden. I heard it the whole way.
Oh, that's
like
your Biden one, right?
Telegraphed it.
Bruce Springsteen.
I want you to keep working on it, okay? Look, this is what's happening, okay? I want to explain to you what's happening in this industry. People get tired of our industry talk. There are a few things happening in the podcast business, which is a business, okay? We're good, but it's a business. Like 98% of the podcasts out there, it's not a good deal for them. Top 10 today, check it out. A lot of professional assholes who have just drifted over to the grift on the right and been like, yeah, cashing money like crazy. Next, comedians, Joe Rogan and everything that he spawned there. Shane Gillis in that world is going to do a lot with Trump impersonations to carry his career. We need to keep up. And Chris Cody, you're the man in charge. No one else here is willing to do a Trump or a Biden.
That's not true, Dan.
Okay, Tony, you can catch
Man of
up.
1,000 impersonations.
That's not bad, man.
Finally.
Pretty good.
Yours is terrible.
You just got to get a little redder, a little pinker. You're right there, man.
Yours is not. You're Biden.
What do you mean?
Oh, his is good.
That's
Dan.
actually not
His
bad.
is good.
Not terrible.
That's not terrible.
We got to come together.
A little southern
little
twang
Bush,
there.
a little George Bush in that one.
You
Little
keep
southern
tr-
twang.
I am willing to wait you out and work it out until you get confidence in it because I believe that impersonations, after before maybe singing on air, impersonations are the most vulnerable thing to try before you have confidence in them out here. So I'm going to keep giving you the space to do Biden versus Trump when you're terrible at both
Thanks,
of them.
man. I'm going to keep working at it.
Okay.
I'll get there.
All right. Because we're going to need
more and
it.
more like W.
Do it together.
Trucker. What are you doing?
I want him to keep working on it. Encourage him.
okay.
Do not rip it. Support him. Unlike the Tonight Show with Tony and Pitch Clock.
It's the Tony Show.
The Pitch Clock, the great show
Clock.
that
The
Jeremy.
biggest audience
you.
that show, such a big audience. They
Thank
pitched.
you.
I made it Pitch Clock, but I made it the Pitch Clock.
The Pitch Clock
It is the
show.
pitch clock.
It's
Oh, okay.
David Sampson's show. It's his show. Big. It's only David Sampson, no Jeremy.
You stumbled into it. I mean, look at you.
The thing that I read, Stugotz, I really miss. I don't know. Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Do you miss how thick magazines used to be? Because I got to do a lot of reading in the incredible amount of flying that is required to get to Africa and back. So it was 40-hour trips, and I just miss reading Esquire and GQ, and the magazines are just thin semblances of what they used to be. But there were a couple of interesting things that I read that I wanted to put before you guys that I did not know. One of them was what seems like a painful disaster for Kevin Costner that you might sort of laugh at and say he's got a lot of money. But Kevin Costner made Yellowstone, which was and might still be the most popular television show in America. It broke apart because of differences between him and the showrunner. And he then decided to make a movie. And they tell you all the time, do not do this, even though I've recently done it with Meadowlark. Do not put your own money in. Kevin Costner spent $38 million on trying to get Horizon made. Now, I know Francis Ford Coppola for a long time has been trying to make his own movie, but it's really hard to do all of these things independently, which is part of why it is I've had panic attacks the last 3.5 years. Kevin Costner putting in $38 million only means that he's going to have to sell one of his amazing homes. But it's still $38 million that he spent years on a project with, left the #1 television show in America, and it's bombed. It hasn't bombed like Waterworld, but it's gotten taken out of theaters, and I'm just like, oh my God, no matter how successful you are, no matter how much in your life you've accrued, to spend that much time and caring on something and have it flop, have it just like fall out of the gate when you invested in it, you believed in it so much that no one else would give you the money for it. He hadn't found the funding. He's been working on it for years, the idea of it.
Perhaps you should have taken the hint. I mean, no one was giving him money for the project because perhaps they thought it was going to bomb.
But Stugotz, these are people who have had a great deal of success betting on themselves.
Sure.
And you can say no one's going to give the project any money because it bombs. Or you can say, man, corporate media has really gone to where all of these avenues don't actually make good and creative choices. Everyone's in business together, getting eaten up, harvested by private equity. And so a lot of bad decisions are being made at the top of corporate structure that has our friend Mike Schur building a $9 million ballpark in the middle of Iowa to create Field of Dreams. And then the project just goes away because all of these people are just interested in saving money.
I think the other issue, too, is that Horizon was too much like Yellowstone. It's like he was all in on the American West saga, and we're like, wait, is this Yellowstone or is this something else? 'Cause
Yellowstone's already good. No need to
Taylor
duplicate
Sheridan,
it.
who's the writer of Yellowstone, has already come off with spin-offs, obviously before Yellowstone, the show. So it's like, was this another spin-off that he's just a part of? Is this another movie? It just looked like the same thing to me.
Classic movie line. If they build it, if you build it, they'll cancel it.
That's actually a pretty decent
He
impression.
had,
Nailed it,
he
Dan.
had, no, he had
of
the
that.
line. I told him to do it in Biden's
That's
voice.
what screwed me up. I was just gonna say it normal. He's like, do it as Biden, and then I did.
If you build it, they'll cancel it.
I would have crushed if I did it right the first
Sorry.
time.
Man, just throw a man in at the end. Go sit in the penalty box.
Oh,
Okay.
come on. That's on me. I mean,
You go sit with him.
oh, Jesus.
Rare accountability from
It was
Stugotz.
totally on me.
The other thing that I read about, and it's unfortunate that I've just kicked Stugotz out. What happened, Billy? Can you find the sounder there for the penalty box? What we're sending people away for?
All-time Big East team, or
we'll get back to that in a second. We'll get. What are the hockey sounders that we have back there that we could play that would indicate that Stugotz and Chris Cody have been sent to the penalty box for something? I'll wait. It's fine. The other thing that I was reading in, I believe it was Esquire, something I did not know. It was also in this Kevin Costner article, I think. Did you guys know that there's still places in America, restaurants and bars, where you can smoke cigarettes inside?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How many?
I'm assuming a lot.
8.
My hometown is home of R.J. Reynolds Tobacco, so you can smoke anywhere. You can, like, smoke in schools.
Hell yeah.
I don't think you actually can, but maybe.
We've got a major penalty, 5 minutes, derailing.
5 minutes.
Derailing. I thought it was good.
Were you guys aware that you could smoke indoors? I thought Oklahoma City might be rare in being a place where you can smoke indoors. Is the Midwest filled with restaurants and bars that you can smoke in?
It definitely surprises me that they're consistent. I remember as a kid going to a restaurant in North Carolina, and it was like the first time that I was old enough to realize people were smoking cigarettes and understand what the smell was and be frustrated by that. And I was like, I can't believe this still happens anywhere. And I haven't experienced that since I was like 14 years old.
I feel like it has to do with the amount of either food being processed at the restaurant, or if it's like a bar solely that you can get away with smoking inside a bar if there's no food, stuff like that. But we've talked about it on the show. Like, it was until the other day that you could smoke on an airplane, smoke in restaurants. Like, I remember going to restaurants like the Ale House, right? And it was like smoking or non-smoking. It was like 2004 or whatever. And I was like, this is crazy.
I thought we had eradicated all of that. I hadn't been, I learned that while smoking a cigar in a bar as that rule was changing. It was in Washington, and they were like, no, you can't do that in here.
You're like, what? Since when?
I could do it in America. I could do it in Miami. What do you mean? That's right. That's exactly what I was like, what are you talking about? Since when was exactly my reaction. I had the same reaction when they wouldn't take my cash at that same bar. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what is changing?
Take away my smoking. You take away my cash. What are we doing here?
I'm gonna have to get a gun. I'm gonna have to, because
you're gonna have to produce an Old West movie like Kevin Costner.
They're changing all the rules on me in a way that makes me uncomfortable and feels threatened. I like the way that America was back then. I think we need to make America great again.
They're letting women be competitive.
There used to be a non-smoking section on an airplane.
Hell yeah.
How does that work?
No, that can't be.
Yeah, there used to be a non-smoke in March 1995. No, that's the ban internationally. In 1994, Delta was the first U.S. airline to ban smoking worldwide. Hold on, I saw it here somewhere.
That's all right. We'll wait for it.
We'll get
It's
to
okay.
it. Don't
Yes,
you worry.
That's fine. We'll also get Stugotz's thoughts on this. I don't know if he's been listening to what it is that we've been doing. Do you think that he knows that there are places in America?
When is he listening?
Well, that's another good point by you.
Even when he's sitting in that chair.
That's right.
Come on.
God, he's gotten so good at faking it. So good at faking it. He's got expert nods, expert chuckles, expert laughs. He is, I will say, someone who has perfected not listening well. Better than anyone in the history of media, I would say.
Would you argue he has to be good at listening to be able to be that good at faking listening?
No, I would not.
No.
He is not. He is not good at listening, and
You're giving him far too much credit.
Like, he's capable of it, but he chooses not to? Maybe?
No, he's got ADD.
United Airlines created a non-smoking section in 1971, the first airline to do so.
And how does it work? It's
You
just,
can't smoke in that section.
Thank you. I appreciate the elaboration that isn't helpful in any way. Was it in the back of the plane? Were people in first class? Like, imagine that in one seat in first class. You got one non-smoking seat of the 6 in first class. It's like the other
guy next to you just blowing his cigarette in your face. Like, oh,
the middle seats.
The problem is that on an airplane, it's closed.
Yeah.
So if they're smoking anywhere, you're still going to get it.
That is the problem. Yes,
Yeah.
you've revealed. It's a giant tube in the sky, and everyone's going to get it if you're smoking, even if you're smoking in the bathroom.
And on most airplanes, you can't roll down the window, so it has no place to go.
The one I flew to Bimini, you can roll down the window.
See?
The Boeings, they
That's
just
not
come
an
right
airplane.
off.
Whenever Tony's around, you have to leave a little wiggle room for, I have a story that's going to contradict whatever you say. So I left that little wiggle room set. In most airplanes, you can't roll down the window. And sure enough, he's been on one that you can.
The puddle jumper that you take from Fort Lauderdale to Bimini, the windows go down. 100%, because I saw the pilot open up both windows and then open up our windows.
During the flight?
Yeah, it was like one of those little ones that doesn't have AC probably.
It doesn't have AC, but that's why I'm the co-pilot, because I'm right behind him. If he goes down, I step up and we do it.
Can you, Billy, in any way find elaborations that are helpful on how it is the non-smoking section would work on an airplane? Was it the last row? Was it this? You've heard me say, fairly shocked recently, they used to serve prime rib. Like, they used to be a glorious thing to fly across the country in an airplane.
People used to wear suits on planes.
Right? And at baseball games. In the 1950s, if you wanted to go to a baseball game, you had to wear a top hat and a suit.
Did people own shorts back then?
Are you saying it was mandatory?
I mean, from judging from the crowd shots,
dress code?
Judging from looking at the people who were bothering Jackie Robinson in their suits and hats, yes, it seemed like it was mandatory to dress up for a 1950s baseball
It's
game.
like going to one of those restaurants where you need to have a sport coat, so they've got a few in the back just in case you don't show up dressed right.
Get over yourself, restaurant. You need a sports coat. Come on, give me a break.
Have any of you ever had that happen? Because I've had it happen once where they gave me one of the rented jackets that you just grab, and it was too short on the sleeves, and I'm like, really? We have to do it this way?
Not better problem, though. I mean, it's not. You're the one who screwed up. You wore gym shorts. I mean.
Again, though, I shouldn't have to wear just ridiculously your too tight toddler's jacket that goes up to my elbows because you've got a dress code.
This place is so expensive. You need to wear a sport coat. So expensive, but not to me. Maybe to you. Maybe it might be.
But I mean,
expensive for you.
It's the dress code, right? They're
Yeah, but
doing you a
I'm gonna
favor.
pay $1,000 to eat here. I can dress however I want.
No, because there's a dress code. They could tell you just go home. They're giving you an option to stay.
And I will go home.
Okay.
Why'd you go there in the first place?
I don't know. Okay.
I do feel like Tony's grown up in a Miami that pretty much you're allowed in everywhere the way that you're dressed.
Absolutely.
Like almost without reservation. You're allowed to go into a place because Miami dresses down a little bit.
Well, you're famous, though. Like, you can get places. I have to have reservations, and I have to follow the rules. If I wear sneakers, I can't cut in at certain places.
I wear sneakers everywhere.
I'm not Tony.
Thank you.
Tony Tonight.
7 p.m. presented by DraftKings.
That's not the name of it. It is Tony's Show. There's not an apostrophe S on it.
2.0.
It's Tony's Show, not 2.0.
Part 2.
Part 2. Yeah.
Part 2.
Is it a continuation of part 1? Like, do we need to watch something in part 1 to get part 2?
No.
It's a sequel.
It's a sequel, but it's
a standalone.
It's non-linear, yeah.
Got it.
Would you guys please, I'm going to need some assistance here because I feel like we're generally disorganized. We don't do a lot of great planning. We don't execute things with finality. I've been told that we are planning something that resembles a show Olympics in honor of the Olympics. Lucy, have you not heard of this? Why are you making a face?
I haven't heard of it.
Yeah.
Again,
I won't be
planning,
participating,
communication.
so.
Okay, so I get back from vacation and they tell me we're doing a show Olympics. Can anyone give me more information?
We are efforting to have, you got to find locations and stuff.
Right.
So, like, nothing is set in stone yet, but we are looking to find a pool to put you two in a pool, maybe with the other members of the show, but mainly you two, to settle the debate of who would win in a swimming race.
Is this because
Okay,
I
I'll
brought it up
participate.
when Dan was on vacation? I said I could beat Dan in a swim meet. Is that why we're doing it?
Yep.
I regret saying that. I need time. I need a lot of lead time on this, okay? Because you're asking me to wear a bathing suit. I don't know how to dive. I can swim, and I can swim pretty fast, but I need some lead time on this. I need to get in shape.
It's all a negotiation. Like, you could say to Dan, hey, we both wear shirts, something like that.
What? I don't want to swim in a shirt, okay? I'm telling
It
you.
does make you less aerodynamic, but if you both have it,
Well, listen, once I get into the pool, diving is a problem for me, okay? Greg Louganis, I am not. But once I get in there, I'm like Rowdy Gaines, okay? I mean, I could swim. I'm a swimmer. I can't dive. My concern is Dan's going to beat me on the dive because anyone who knows swimming knows it's all about the dive and the turn. That's it, the dive and the turn. I mean,
I am not a fast swimmer. I am willing to do this. I am not so pathetic that I would say to you, I want to do it in a shirt.
That's wetsuit, maybe? I'm just looking out for my man here in the handles.
Well, I just don't need this to be something that feels so much not like the Olympics that I'm in there in a T-shirt.
I'm also looking out for the viewers because it's not going to be pretty, guys.
No, they want that. The more embarrassing it is for me and Stugotz, the better that it is.
All right, Speedos.
Stugotz having the idea that if we give him 3 months, he's going to get into shape is amazing.
Hilarious.
It's amazing. Yeah,
And learn how to dive.
He's going to look like Lenny Kravitz and swim like Michael Phelps if I just give him a couple of months.
He'll have the
Rowdy
V.
Gaines.
He'll have the V.
One of the great swimmers of all time.
The D'Angelo, he's going to have. That's right. We're all going to be amazed that Stugotz rockets through the pool in a way that makes us believe he could have won a bronze medal at the Olympics. He just needs a couple of months of training. You arguing on behalf of I would kill Dan in a swim meet as someone who has said for, I don't know, 15 years that you could score 5 times in penalty kicks against a goalie and we've never executed it. Just give me some time.
Yeah, just get me a goalie.
Yeah, we've done it a number of times. We've got you a goalie and you don't execute anything. Just give me some time is Stugotz's universal move for kicking the can down the road so it never gets done. And I don't know how it keeps working around here.
Yeah.
That move should no longer work. We should be forced during the Olympics to have a swim meet no matter what shape Stugotz and I are in. I don't think I will win that. I think you will beat me. I have never swum quickly.
Swam.
Check that one.
Swam?
Check that one,
Yeah.
there, Mr. Writer.
Swam.
I don't know about that.
Swam.
Is it?
Swam.
think
Yeah.
Gotta be
swam.
swam.
Definitely not
Swam.
swum.
Not
Yeah.
swum.
No.
Are you guys sure?
100%.
Yeah.
Pretty positive.
All of you are positive.
It's swam.
Dan's a writer.
Okay.
He also didn't know analyzation. He didn't know that one.
Past participle of swim is swum.
What does that mean?
That's a past participle, though. That's different.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know.
Do you get annoyed every time Dan Le Batard pontificates about the sports media industry? Well, too bad, motherfucker. He knows you don't give a damn about what he's gonna say. It's time for sports media talk today.
Earlier in the show, I didn't even bring it up. Billy brought it up. I didn't bring up Skip Bayless or any of that stuff. But I have learned over the last few months that a lot of people do not like when I talk about this stuff. And I thought Juju was very correct when he said the reason people don't talk or want me to talk about this stuff is because they're dollar amounts that don't affect our daily lives. All of us have problems. We don't need to hear how much Stephen A. Smith thinks he is worth. But the reason, Stugotz, and I'm curious why it's not more interesting in here. The reason I talk about it so much is that everything we've done over the last 3.5 years, all of the tumult that has pulled me away from family during an important time, it's all because we are trying to change and alter the way that these things are valued so that the corporations can't keep all the money, so that we can feed our thing with a new value that makes Stephen A. look at what we're making and say, wait a minute, why are they're not worth more than I am? Why do they have a deal that's better than mine? And it is better than his. He's saying, not anymore. Not anymore. I want a better deal than the one they have and the one McAfee has. And so, because that's so, it's been a singular obsession of mine, even though you know I've never cared at all about money. You know this. It feeds everyone here the fact that we're trying to change the way all of this is done so that we insist to everybody who wants to work with us, no, we're worth this. Not that, because we know what our inventory is, we know what our value is, and we want to show everyone else in the industry what it is. Why aren't you guys more interested in it, given that it feeds everyone here? And I asked the question, pardon my tone, because I really don't understand why you wouldn't be interested. I've never been interested in the intricacies of this. Never thought about it. But now I've had to. It kind of makes me miserable. I don't want to think about it. It's the enemy of fun. Like, it really is to have creativity contaminated by having to think about this garbage that pollutes it. But I do genuinely wonder, I ask all of you, why aren't you guys more interested in, oh my God, Skip Bayless' seat just opened, and Fox built a whole thing around, let's just get two ESPN's old white guys, Colin and Skip, we'll put them here and we'll build a whole industry. Holy now Nick Wright is worth more than everybody because Fox just lost Bayless. And God, I don't even know how much Cowherd's going to get because he's really smart and really calculated. Stugotz, you and I spent time in Jacksonville with him, and he fell asleep at 8 p.m.
Yep, at the dinner table. Yeah.
And he knows so much about focus groups and how you get, the West Coast. We didn't know any of that. He knew all of it. And he wants to be, at the end of his career, the mogul that Simmons is, the mogul that Peyton Manning is, the mogul that McAfee is. And I just genuinely ask you guys the question because it's been a life consumption of mine, an obsession that has made me really unhappy. Not this thing. This thing I love, but the thing has to maintain its value. So everything that you have to deal with everywhere else is just a giant pain in the ass.
I think I go with Juju on this in terms of why I'm not interested on the air and discussing it. I don't think our audience is interested. And so I try to always do it through that prism. If you and I were sitting outside, on a patio, rocking chairs, I could talk to you about it till the end of time. But talking about it on the air, I'm kind of with Juju, like, hey, don't want to hear about what Skip Bayless wants to be. Not feeling bad for Skip Bayless. He made hundreds of millions of dollars giving sports opinions for his entire life.
Okay, so, yes, all of it understood. But I just got done telling you that Greg Cody, overgrown toddler, hasn't grown up, good at one thing. Tim Kirkshin, overgrown toddler, hasn't grown up, good at one thing. Dan Le Batard, overgrown toddler, good at one thing. This has been a singular obsession of mine for 30 years to be good at this, at what it is we're doing. And by accident...
We are good at this, though.
But by accident, it has resulted in a value that as soon as the corporation started cutting, next thing you know, Chris Cody is out. And we're like, wait a minute. That's not the way it's supposed to work in a business that cares about people, is it? Is that the way it's supposed to work? So everybody who rides with this show, the backstory of it goes back forever. Stugotz, do you think that at any point in my sports writing career, the DraftKings deal is worth so much more than people think it is? Stephen A. knows this. McAfee knows this. If you're in business with us, if you're in loyalty with us, I just walked into another studio and I saw Pablo Torre and Skipper and Samson doing a podcast that I know to be smarter about sports business than anything, and I know how you're consuming it. So there are a whole lot of people who want to learn about this. They don't just happen to be our audience, which wants us to do normal hijinks, but I'm explaining to you and the audience, hey, the normal hijinks pay for everything, and also, hey, Stephen A., you don't have to be a company, man. You're a company, man. Like, you can come out and keep us company.
But I think Stephen A. I think he thinks he could pull it off, both of them. He could stay at ESPN and still be.
He can.
Right.
He can. All of these but why doesn't anybody care when what I'm pointing out to you is Fox got into this business in the laziest way possible. They just said, hey, Bayless, hey, Cowherd, can you come over here and hot take? And they built everything they built. And then in that time, First Take contaminated everything. All of it went to garbage debate television. And in the doing of that, Stephen A. Smith kills the end of the guy's career who gave him the entire opportunity to work at ESPN. That is the top of our game. And I still don't understand. I'll have to put down my sword because it's clear that nobody wants to hear about it. But you understand why it has been a singular obsession of mine for 3.5 years? I'll tell you why. Because Stugotz always wants more money.
I don't don't even know if you're right that the audience doesn't
Blame it on
want
me.
it. Like, Stu, are you even right that the audience doesn't? Because that's like, we don't get better numbers on videos than when Dan, like, it's about Stephen A. Smith and stuff. So there's something going on there. Maybe they're hate watching it. Maybe
no,
they're just...
it's not our normal audience. People want it. It's just our audience doesn't want it. Like, it's other people that
I'm not judging this by social media clicks and hits and all that stuff. I feel like I know our audience after 20 years of doing this, and maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong, and maybe there's been a change. I just don't feel like that's what they want to hear from us all the time, So, not that Dan does it all the time, but he does it enough where...
No, I do it. I do it too much, but I'm telling you why I do it too much. Stugotz, look, one of the things I'm trying to do, embarrassing myself on South Beach Sessions, Pablo's encouraging me to do this. Just be more publicly vulnerable. Try to link up with your audience in a way that's not concealed where your insecurities are. Try not to hide. I am trying and have been trying since we did this to show people what it is that we're trying to do so they can be proud of it with us, because I'm proud of it and it's a hard thing to do. When I tell you, like, panic attacks, Stugotz, we've talked about this before, but I've never talked about this part of it publicly, because when I tell you I've been passing out in places, it's the scariest thing that I could possibly do to my wife. Like, the last thing I see every time is her fear. So if you want me to care like that, and if you will follow my curiosities to the places where you care about our show enough so that we can do all this stuff because we know you're with us, and that loyalty is at least in part because this is an authentic thing that you kind of feel like you know, I don't expect you to have to care about me talking about this, but I will kind of ask you to tolerate it, because I do think that the innards of this business are interesting. And when I talk about the player empowerment all the time, if the punter arrives at the game and changes everything, what do you think LeBron and Peyton Manning and Tom Brady are going to want when the athletes have all recognized that this is a business that if you do it correctly, you can be the Kelseys, and you're so much bigger than football players. Like, you can have a career for 30 years after the one that made you famous, Shannon Sharpe. There are people watching him now who don't understand the degree of difficulties on what he just created and have forgotten that he's a Hall of Famer and one of the best to ever play his position. And furthermore, as a lifetime single man who is crazed by competitive, Shannon Sharpe wants to beat everybody at this game. He's a lifelong single person who's like, I am going to crush everybody because of my competitiveness. Because, and this is no slight on McAfee, but if you're Shannon Sharpe, you're saying, if he can do that, why can't I do that?
I think a lot of players, current players, are having similar thoughts, like towards the end of their career.
But they all are now,
right.
Stugotz. All Patrick Beverly, all Draymond Green, they've all seen now the planning of the end of their careers. But all show I've been getting inundated, and I understand this part too. People are plenty tired of talking about LeBron and empowerment. But all show long I've been getting, Dan doesn't realize what Michael Jordan has done. And I'm like, you don't realize what LeBron is intent on doing. Like, I'm well aware of how much money Michael Jordan made in and for Nike.
All those people are right.
That's fine. Yeah. And you can think that. But when one of your businesses, again, Peyton Manning, 9 years, $700 million just from ESPN. That's not the Netflix stuff. And that's just from ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
And also, LeBron can do a lot with the sneaker companies as well. And LeBron is already buying teams and will probably buy an NBA team. And on top of that, what's the percentage he's getting on all of these other basketball players that now work for him as he plays against them because they are clients of his friend? You're just not paying attention to how interested this person in the end of his career is to beating Michael Jordan there, even though Stugotz thinks he never will, and beating Tom Brady there, even though Tom Brady is going to get $375 million for 20 weekends. I've lost everybody.
All Big East team, or?
I've lost everything.
Was waiting for that all hour. The top 5 Big East team. We never got to it.
Post-game show. We will get to Stugotz's promised all-time Big East team to close the show. But just to close the loop on what I was telling you about panic attacks and vulnerability, because I just slid that in yesterday when I was talking about being at a glaucoma appointment at the, what was it called?
The eye store?
The eye store, yes.
The eye place.
and passing out. I didn't realize. I thought something else was wrong with me. I don't know what you guys think panic attacks look like, or I didn't have, I haven't had a professional diagnosis of this, but there's nothing wrong with me. I just have passed out half a dozen times in a way where fear has gripped me, and I realize I'm passing out, and it keeps getting worse as soon as I see the fear in my wife's eyes, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this to her again.
But at that point, you're passed out. So
I can't. Well, yes, but I still leave her with this burden of me on a sidewalk because I've fallen back in my chair at a sidewalk cafe. It's not, and then paramedics have to be called the first time it happens because she doesn't know what the hell it is.
I'm concerned, and I feel like we have to have like a company intervention, like in general, because we went through this with Samson last week, where like there are doctors that you can see about these things, and they will advise you. They'll tell you what's going on, and they can give you, a plan or medication, whatever. Like Samson was just like, yeah, I sleep 2 to 3 hours every night. We're like, well, why? Like, as the doctor told you, like, I haven't been to a doctor. It's like, well, don't you? Yeah, they can help you with these things. You can seek help on these things.
Men can be very stubborn about seeking help of any kind, and furthermore, I would say the sleep stuff. You're underestimating how hard it is to conquer some of that stuff,
especially when you don't see a doctor.
That is correct.
It's even harder.
Just give it your best effort.
Yeah,
I mean, smoke some weed.
We recommended that. He said he did.
Whether you need help with sleep or getting tickets to a game.
Well done.
You need to go to Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Dan for 20% off your first purchase. Terms apply, last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Man, do I love Game Time. You can see your seat view from the app. No hidden fees. You click the little thing, you get all the fees up front. Game Time is just a game changer. Go now. Game Time.
Full disclosure, they don't help with sleep problems. Like just so for the legal, like
the opposite.
No,
they actually get you super excited.
No, you also sleep well, knowing that you got the best damn ticket.
Oh, come on, that is good.
That's an EP.
That was a good one.
Who was that?
The Tonight Show with Tony on CBS tonight
Thank you.
at 7 p.m. Go ahead, Stugotz, your all-time Big East team. I don't know why we're doing this.
Because I was talking about Kemba Walker yesterday, saying he has no business going into the Basketball Hall of Fame, yet he's going to go in to the Basketball Hall of Fame. He should be the Hall of Good, just good.
Cardiac Kemba, come on, dude. What are you talking about?
One of the greatest college highlights I've ever seen.
College.
That step back.
That's
College.
part of the best
basketball.
I don't like the Basketball Hall of Fame. Don't get me started. You cannot take someone and combine their college career, their international career, their Olympic career, their NBA career.
But that's what they do.
No,
It just is what they do.
Give me an NBA Hall of Fame. Enough already. It's a joke. Seriously. Anyway, point guard. This is my all-time all-Big East team. Pearl Washington. Shooting guard. Kemba Walker.
Oh, wow. You gave him
a small two?
Listen, he had one of the great Big East tournaments of all time. That's why he's in there, the Hall of Big East. I mean, how about that?
the Hall of Big East.
Number 3, my small forward, Chris Mullen. St. John's, 85, 86. He was great. Power forward. Tough one. Walter Berry won the Wooden Award, played for St. John's, went to the Final Four. Louis Carnesecca, the sweater. Derek Coleman.
It's all going to be this era, correct? You're not going to do anything other than Kemba from the last 20 years, right?
Yes. Derek Coleman. Patrick Ewing. I left out Iverson. I'm in the Big East.
And Zoe.
Oh, my God. Zoe, get out of here.
Zoe could run at the 4.
Zoe, get out of here.
Zoe,
Get the 4. Did you see Walter Berry play?
No.
Go. Do me a favor. Do me a favor. When he says, "Did you see Walter Berry play?" Jeremy. Go look up for me his pro numbers as he rips Kemba Walker. Go look
But
up for me.
that's different. This is all Big East.
I understand it's different, but I don't know Walter Berry's pro career, but he just put someone in the Hall of Fame or his personal memory Hall of Fame that I don't believe had much of, if any, pro career just based on his college numbers.
He played 5 seasons, 14 points a game.
Right. Yeah. 5
23
seasons.
minutes.
Yeah. The B in Berry stands for bust.
Bleacher Report has Walter Berry as number 4 on their list of best Big East players of all time.
Thank you.
The same as Stugotz.